So most of my regular subscribers know all the rambling I talk about that I do. There's going to be quite a bit. I'm sorry in advance. So hello and welcome to domytriesthis. I hope you brought your cuppa. Today's coffee mug says be positive. I am pretty sure you could say it with me that my daughter found this for me. Just like almost half of what else I've got back here, right? It's a little bee, just be positive. Looks like a little floral wreath around it. It's kind of cute. In our Be Positive mug is our first tea from my Sips by mug from August. This is the Rainy Day Tea Company Sunshower Spice. This is caffeine free and it has ginger, carob bits, apple bits, rosehip peel, cinnamon, chicory root, cardamom, black pepper, sweet blackberry leaves, and cloves. Not a whole lot of leaves in there to get an actual, to get tea. So it's going to be very interesting. I will say it looked like leafy parts were quite prevalent in the actual mix. It was a nice chunky mix. It actually smells very, very good as a dry tea. But let's give her a sip and we'll get started. On these Bright Ladies and Dragon Bite videos, it doesn't get a whole lot of time to steep. I like that. It's very... I'm not getting a hint of anything specific. Moths. Anyway, I'm getting distracted by moths. ADHD, guys. ADHD. Honest. But anyway, it smells beautiful, but, gotta taste her. I like that. There is sweetness. Probably a lot of that's from my sugar. It's only been steeping for like 2 or 3 minutes, and I believe this is one of the ones that takes, this is a 6-minute steep. By the time we get to the end of this whole thing, it should have steeped to its full strength by then. But I'm liking it. So far I'm liking it. That's a beautiful flavor, and not too spicy either, which is also really nice. Anyway, so as I noted in my little intro, there's liable to be a lot more rambling. I am still processing a lot about our topic today, which happens to be me going on my spiritual, cultural, and genealogical journey. Was raised in a white family. Family. It is a family, but it was initially up until I was about 12 or 13. I had a stepfather, also white. My mother's white. We went to California when she became a single mom, and I was raised by a single mother. She has her issues, unfortunately, and those issues have caused some problems. But there are other problems that were not caused by her that are making this journey a little bit harder than I expected. And we're going to get into all of that and this look. You'll have to forgive the left eye, which is being a bitch again. This is the eye. This is the one. I can get nice lines under the right eye. This is the eye that says, no, we're just going to be a sloppy mess. So this eye is a sloppy mess. Just please. Anyway, so here is the look we will be doing today. I actually like it. Other than the fact that I think I need something in there a little less purple, maybe underneath the eyes, particularly since this one does this watery thing. But we will discuss all of that at the end of the video. For right now, if you are interested in hearing about the whole genealogical journey to get to doing the genealogical stuff and all the other ramblings that go along with it, and you want to do this look, or you want to see how this look was done, just stay tuned and keep on watching. All right, so we have you pulled close so we can go ahead and get started. And as I said, we are going to be talking about basically genealogy, sort of, my background, I'm trying to get into my genealogy, basically. But let's, you know what? This has been frustrating. So hopefully I'm not too much of a mess on this, but there's a good chance I'll be too much of a mess on this, unfortunately. But let's go to before I went and did the whole ancestry thing. And I don't mean to be looking over here. I don't know why I'm doing that again. But at any rate, let's get back into this. So, my mother gave birth to me in Puerto Rico. So I'm technically Puerto Rican. I'm actually, Puerto Rican. But, being born someplace doesn't necessarily, being born in Kansas doesn't make you part of whatever indigenous Indians were in Kansas at the time. And so I haven't known for years whether or not I'm indigenous Puerto Rican. But the story she told me, now you got to understand, the things that my mother told me are not necessarily true. What is going on? Jericho. Anyway, I think the kitten was getting in the trash can. But anyway, so my mother hasn't been 100% honest with me about a lot of things that I've only recently discovered. And that has been very upsetting for me. And it has made some of this a little harder. At any rate, so her story is she was sent to Puerto Rico, I guess, as part of her military career. She met and married my father. And because she got pregnant with me, she had to leave the military. Pregnant women, no, not at that time. And then things were not good. We'll just go there. Things were not good between Mom and my father. And she chose to leave, and she divorced him, and she took me to California to go be with her family. And that presumably happened when I was 3 months old. Now, I have seen some of the pictures of me at the time that she supposedly left Puerto Rico, and you're not sitting up by the time you're 3 months old. It takes a little longer than that. I've raised children. It takes longer than that. And so there have always been a little bit of questions about some of that of her story, unfortunately. And while out there, she divorced my father. Eventually, she met my adoptive father, and they moved around a bit, and then they ended up in Ohio. And when I was 13, she divorced. Well, let's back up again. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff. So she married him. She moved to Ohio with him. She had my half-brother, my brother, the brother I was essentially raised with. And that marriage wasn't doing well. So one of the first things they apparently tried to do was have my stepfather adopt me. And quite obviously, as we know now, children do not save the day. And the marriage pretty much fell apart. And when I was 12, 13 years old, somewhere in there, she divorced him and took us all back out to California to be with her family again. And she never remarried, and she raised us, or mostly raised me. When my brother was older, he ended up going to live with his biological father, which makes perfect sense. So that is the whole story. That's that story in a nutshell, basically. As it turns out, some of that may not be quite so true. I've seen pictures of me when we supposedly, just before we left the island, pictures of me with my father, and babies aren't sitting up at 3 months. There are other things that will come up as we discuss this whole story. Now, I think I always was curious about my father. It's really odd because we left, I couldn't have been more than a year old. I was definitely more than 3 months old, but I couldn't have been more than a year old. So I was born in 63. We must have left in 64. I was born in October. And there is a divorce paper from California. She didn't even divorce until after we left. But when my adoptive father adopted me, I kept the last name, Caballero. And that's just one little thing that's on me that's not on her. I'm not saying that she had anything to do with that. I think she would have preferred me not to keep that name. But beyond that, another little life fact. Beyond that, I pretty much, my mother is white. My adoptive father is white. I pretty much, as a kid, just went along with the whole, okay, we're white. We're going to be white. We're going to do white. And I thought this would be more purple than it is. It looks more purple in the pan than it is on my face. But anyway, that notwithstanding. And then when she divorced my father, we moved up into the mountains with my aunt. At some point in time, I became a Christian, a born-again Christian. There is relevance there. This was the second divorce in my life, so things, I don't know, it just, I think I felt a little lost, and the whole being a Christian thing kind of helped with purpose. And, you know, Christians will tell you that's what it does. It helps give you a purpose. You're given a purpose to worship God and to be a glory to his creation and all that stuff. And I went in deep and I did the Bible studies. I did the whole thing, right? Fast forward years. I hadn't really been thinking about my cultural heritage. I didn't think about my dad much during that time. I mean, my bio father. If I am going to talk about my stepfather, I will probably say stepfather. Whereas where I'm talking about my bio father, I'll probably say just father or dad. Again, reasons. There are reasons that we don't need to get into for all of that. But didn't think much about it when I was, a teenager and all of that. I just did my thing for a while. Got married, had my own kids, got divorced, got remarried, changed the spelling of my first name. Little things like that will complicate any kind of search of anything. So, after, and more recently I should say, because in all honesty, it's to say after my kids were born would imply that I was still raising them when I started to really think about heritage, religion, spirituality, and all that other stuff. And I can tell you right now that that is not the case. They have been grown for a while. But it's kind of interesting. People say that politics don't do much to your life. But for me, politics had me rethinking my whole Christian faith. And I just didn't want to be associated with the people we were seeing on TV or in the politics. The hateful ones. You know what I'm talking about. And I began to downplay my Christianity quite a bit. Doesn't mean I was walking away from it yet. But I was definitely downplaying it a lot, and I didn't want to be considered a part of that mess. Honestly, that's what it came down to. They're hateful human beings right now, to be honest with you. Not all of them, I understand, but that process of watching a church that I used to love go so horribly wrong spurred the whole questioning of spirituality for me, which does come into play. And I began to walk away from my Christian faith. Like I said, I didn't want to be associated with those people. That's outside. At any rate, so I started looking into Puerto Rico and my Puerto Rican background a little bit. I wasn't doing genealogy at the time. I was just looking into things a little bit. And discovered that there is an indigenous Puerto Rican called the Taino. And the Taino actually had some very healthy colonies in Puerto Rico when, I don't want to say Christopher Columbus discovered it, but when he found it, because it was already being lived on. So it had already obviously been discovered, so to speak. And I started to become a little bit curious about that. But I was really more starting to explore just my cultural roots initially. And I started with food, and I was looking at pictures. I started doing some reading. I don't know how long it would have stayed there on its own if other things hadn't happened. But there was some curiosity about how, if I was Taino, I started thinking about my dad again. I didn't think too heavily about my dad because I hadn't yet, even though I was doing my own looking into my culture, I hadn't yet hit on anything that really made me have alert lights go off that mother may have lied significantly. At least not initially. So I was exploring all this stuff, and then the alert lights went off. But I was really looking into it, and I have to admit, I was curious about how much Taino I have, if any, because just because you're, like I said, just because you're born in a place doesn't mean you're actually native, part of that indigenous culture that was in that place. We have, when Columbus found Puerto Rico, like I said, there was a very healthy community of Taino on the island. But within 50 years, that healthy community had been reduced down to 60 known people. So, I mean, yes, it's insanely short. And everybody, they were breeding that sounds terrible, but y'all know what I mean. They were having children with the natives. They brought slaves over. So the slaves were having children with the natives. So it is very hard to say if you're Taino without a genealogical test. So I just kind of went on, well, I'm Puerto Rican, and there are possible questions to this, but we are just going to go with I'm Puerto Rican for right now. And I'm to study my Puerto Rican culture. I'm going to read on it. I will say that I was getting more and more furious with the whole thing of what happened to my people, what happened to the Taino. I really was relating to them, and the way they're treated and the way they began to disappear off the island. Yeah, I was becoming more and more angry about that as I did the research and did the reading. And I still got a lot of research and reading to do. I've got several books that I'm still trying to go through. I did try to bring this back to my faith. I really was curious about their worship practices. I kind of figured most of them would not be up my alley, but I was going to take a look. I really did want to see how they worshiped and how much of that I could bring into my life as part of my spiritual life. Because as far as I'm concerned, Christianity has failed me. It's failed probably just about everybody, except those rabid people right now that are just so hateful that you don't want to be a Christian with some of these people. You see how horrible they are, and you're like, I can be a horrible human being. I don't need Christ for that. That was pretty much my attitude about it. You know, y'all horrible. I don't need him to be horrible. And also, I started to really think about the science. There's like the science, not only just of world creation, which I know I'm going way off base here, but just put up with me a little bit. Not only world creation, but also the science of how the Bible was put together and stuff like that. Some of the things that are spoken of in the Bible that they can't find proof of anywhere, stuff like that. So, yeah, I was starting to pretty much fall off that wagon, and that kind of left kind of a hole for me. And so I was really kind of looking for ways to bring some kind of spirituality back into my life. And that is still proving a little difficult. I'm still working on that. I do feel I have a little bit more going on with that. But the interesting part of all this is the timing, because I'm sitting here and I'm looking seriously into the spiritual aspects. I'm not really thinking about much else. I mean, I won't lie, I would have at least liked to have met my father at some point in time. Or the family that he came from, something, just to connect to the people I came from. But at the time that I was doing most of this, I wasn't looking into that so much. And then came the bombshell. My brother calls me. Yeah, he called me. I was going to say, wait a minute, he texted me. No, he called me. And he told me he had something he needed to talk to me about. And we talked. And the something that we need to talk about was we have another half-brother through my mom. There is a moth in here. Go away, moth. This is a bombshell to me. So all of that becomes a, wait, what? Moment. Took me a few days. I had to process all of this, and then I contacted my brother. My half-brother, my new half-brother, Rodney. And we pieced together some things. I'm drying setting spray. That made me start questioning everything my mother told me about any part of my background. Now, mind you, she did not tell me a lot. She told me she got married, she had me, things were bad, she left. That's pretty much all she said. She gave me a name. I have a copy of a birth certificate. It is not the certificate. I think it's filed with the court. It's the one that the hospital gives you. That's the birth certificate I have. But of course, now I have so many questions. So many. My mother passed away, so I can't ask her. And because she was a paranoid schizophrenic, and obviously because she lied to me before, I couldn't ask her anything. Um, so honestly, I guess you could say it was the mysterious half brother that appeared on the scene that made me start to decide to do the DNA test. And we talked for a while. He didn't push. He let me kind of process what I needed to process on my own. My other brother also did the same. Matt did the same. And they just let me kind of do what I needed to do to figure it all out and figure out how I felt about it. Like I said, Matt didn't pressure anything. He gave me the contact information. I contacted Rodney to get the story out of him of what was going on. And he said he was on Ancestry. And what was interesting is he said, you were hard to find. And I went, well, I'm adopted. And he went, oh, well, that explains some of it. And then I said, also, I've changed my name. My name used to have an I in it, and now it has a Y. And he went, oh. And I said, that's not in a court paperwork either. Basically, I've just been using it since, I don't even know how long. Since after my first marriage. But I just never had the money to go and, just actually to go and change it in a court paperwork. And I just used it. I've just been using it for decades. Decades. The way I spell my name now. And so those were what we thought were the issues of him being able to find me, because, there's, he had information on Mom. He had information on his dad. I gather he was able to find my brother's dad really easily, and I've got a little bit of something going on under here. Yay, gonna be one of those days, guys. At any rate, so I finally decided that I needed to see this relationship myself, make sure we weren't being, this wasn't something else. It's not like anybody on this side of the ocean. He's in California. The new brother's in California. It's not like anybody on this side of the ocean, the East Coast, has a lot of money. Matt apparently does well, but doesn't have a lot of money. I think the only person who did have a lot of money, her estate, she died last year, her estate's in probate, and she's my aunt, and she died intestate, which means no will. So even if she had a decent inheritance after they go through all the stuff that they need to for the court, she and I didn't get along. I'd said things as a kid that no, she wouldn't have left me anything. So yes, I'm putting an awful lot of this on here. I do this. I have a lot of red today. Today is a red day. I don't know why. Sometimes I have red days. Sometimes I don't. Today is a red day. At any rate, so I went ahead and I decided I was going to do the Ancestry test. There are several of them out. I want to do the 123andMe test at some point as well. I did upload my results into something called GEDmatch. That hasn't proved helpful at this point. I mean, there are matches to my family tree, but again, most of it is on my mother's side, as I will explain in a minute what that's all about. But I went ahead and I wanted to do the test, and then my ex got a hold of me. He's really big on genealogy, and my genealogy is a big question mark for the children. I'm not sure how big they are on the genealogy. I don't know how much they appreciate their dad doing this, Probably to some degree they do. But yes. So he decided to pay for it for me, at least for the actual test. I have to pay for the monthly membership thing, and that's fine. He shouldn't have to pay for that. And so I did the whole test thing. And I was both anxious and excited. I was nervous about it, but excited. I mean, the biggest thing for me was, am I, Puerto Rican? Do I have the Puerto Rican mix, or am I Spanish? Is it all Spanish? That was the big question for me. And I knew not to expect it to be a lot of Puerto Rican because, like I said, by the time, 50 years after Columbus, there was maybe 60 people left that were purebred Tainos. Pure blood, however you want to put it. I'm not trying to imply that they were animals. They were my ancestors. But at any rate. So we did the test. The test is supposed to take 6 to 8 weeks or something like that. Mine actually came in fairly reasonably quickly. And I am Taino. I have to report that. My mother was white as could be. All my matches with my two brothers are definitely on her side and white. They're very, very white. They are so white. There's so much white. Anyway, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not a horrible thing. It's through my mom. But I am definitely Taino. And with that, I decided, you know what? Let's go try to find Dad. That is proving to be the hard part. So, like I said, the one thing I have... Well, let me back up a minute. So why is that the hard part? For one, I was adopted. So that means that all of those records are sealed. My original birth certificate, all of that is sealed. And you have to go to court to unseal things. Okay. It's not horrible, but this Pretty Fresh Natural is quite fragranced compared to most of the others that I use. Y'all know I try to avoid too much fragrance because it bothers me. It's pretty. It's very floral, but it's fragranced. At any rate. So all my birth records my original birth records are sealed. So to get into those, I would have to go to court, pay all the fees, do all the things, and then pay for all that stuff. I don't have that kind of money. I just don't. I don't have that. I just don't. I don't have that kind of money. So that is a hurdle right there. Then comes the weird stuff. Apparently, well, first of all, the first weird bit is that 2010, I think, Puerto Rico had a new law come into effect. And you had to get a new birth certificate prior to 2010. Apparently, the old certificates they had were prone to fraud or other problems. So they came up with a new format, quote-unquote safer format. I wasn't looking for my father in 2010. I was adopted before 2010, so it was kind of odd to me, in a way, that during an adoption, they're supposed to find your biological parent and get that parent's permission if they can. Well, according to my mother, they couldn't find him. And I always thought that was kind of odd. And I was also kind of thought it was him just wanting to stay away, not wanting to have anything to do with me and my mom. Can kind of get it. She's with her, at least. But I was just a baby. blaming me and not wanting anything to do with me, it was hurtful. And so for the longest time, I thought, my dad just doesn't want anything to do with me. And it was very, very painful for me for a long time. I actually wrote a short story on it where a girl had put in to try to find her biological father. They finally found him, and she had the opportunity to go meet him at a mall, a safe space. And she saw him and ended up not going through it. And I know some of that came from my own pain of feeling like my dad had rejected me, and I wanted the opportunity to be able to accept or reject him. Just straightforward, simple. That's it. Well, it turns out it is not that simple. Not in Puerto Rico. So we did the genealogy things. Yes, Rodney is my half-brother through my mom. Got that cleared up. He had a few records that he thought was for my father. Not much. There's a military record that looked very odd, but assuming it's the same person. And I found a record of a marriage, or I should say of a spouse, because I got to clarify the records things in a minute here, and you're going to be like, okay, that's odd. But honestly, this oddity explains why my dad was so hard to find and why they probably couldn't find him. And it's probably the one thing that my mother told me that was the truth, is that they went looking for him like they were supposed to, and they couldn't find him. Puerto Rico's a mess. I don't think it's entirely through any fault of its own, but Puerto Rico's a mess. So I found, we got verified, and even able to verify that Matt was my half-brother and all that stuff. So got other genealogical stuff in there, all of it related to my mother. Like I said, they had, Rodney had found, or his daughter had found, a record, a military record of my father, and I have found burial records for my father. So, he died not long after my mother did. So all the people, and my stepfather, by the way, is also deceased from cancer. So all the people, my grandmother is deceased. She died over a decade ago. So all the people who could actually talk to me about this, that is in my immediate sphere, is gone. I can't talk to anyone and get any information about anything. From the way Rodney told me that my aunts and uncle have reacted to his presence, they may not have known about him. Apparently, what had happened is that Mom brought me out from the island, and she moved in with her mother. And 2 years after I was born, she gave birth to a boy. She obviously had another relationship, and she gave birth to a boy. And she gave him up for adoption. And that was Rodney. She never told us about him. And my mother was alive and lucid when the whole thing about people looking up their adoptive parents came up. You would think she would have at least warned us that there was the possibility that this half-brother might show up and tell us he was there, and she didn't. And I know I'm going all over the place. I'll get there. You all have to be patient with me. This whole thing has been confounding in a lot of ways. It is so new. At any rate, so I started trying to find my father, and like I said, Rodney's daughter had a couple of things, and I tried looking things up. I found a possible second spouse that he married after my mother. I found a possible burial space. We have possible military records. And I say possible because here's the part. We have a divorce decree between him and my mom that was filed in California. So she divorced him after she left the island. We do not have a marriage certificate at all. There's no record of the marriage. Well, if there probably is, I just can't seem to locate it online through any of the stuff that I'm using to find it. So we have no marriage certificate. We have, the only birth certificate I have, I misremembered his name. I went in and found the only birth certificate I have, which, like I said before, is the certificate that the hospital gives the family. It is not the certificate they register with the state. The one with the state has, it's a form. So this is not a form. It's a birth certificate thing that you get from your kids, and corrected everything on that because I was really struggling to find information. So we have the divorce decree from California. Yay, divorce decree. We do not have a marriage decree in Puerto Rico. I can't find one. To make things even weirder, can't find his birth certificate. And can't find the second spouse's birth certificate. So, my father's a ghost who married a ghost. The only reason I know about him is because I have pictures, and I don't even know if those are true anymore. And yeah, this has just been totally, it's bizarre. Now, I have tried to contact people that came up on my ancestry DNA that were related, that I thought might be related through him. And I say might be related through him because they have Taino. They have indigenous Puerto Rican Taino in them. Most of them have more of it than I do. I will say, I was really kind of sad about how little Taino I had in me, but I'm glad to have some Taino at all, right? Shows I wasn't just Spanish born on the island. I also have quite a bit of African and stuff. I will insert a picture of my genealogy. I do not have a problem sharing my ethnic heritage or anything like that. My family tree on Ancestry is public because, again, I don't mind sharing all that and hopefully helping others. So we have no records of my father being born. The records of him dying are not a death certificate. They are a military burial, and that the fact that on the ancestry it says deceased. And this is assuming the man that I have found is actually my father, because apparently there's a lot of Arnaldo Caballeros out there. And same for the wife, the second wife. There's just nothing. There's her name. He had a spouse. They had a child. There are no birth certificates. It is honestly just tripping me out that there are absolutely no birth certificates. I can't find anything. As you can imagine, this part of it is being very frustrating for me. And Puerto Rico's a mess. So I did contact a couple people on my genealogy chart that came up in Ancestry. One of them got back to me. One of them has read it and not gotten back to me. I'm not sure why on that. I am hoping that they are not somebody who knows, or someone who remembers, or who they themselves remember my mother and are laying the sins of the parent at my feet. Like I said, from what I've seen, from all of this stuff that I've gotten so far, I feel like I can't trust everything my mother told me. So I'm trying, but in the meantime, I'm also trying to do some research on my own, and it's proving difficult. And what I've been told is that I'm not the only one. Apparently, this kind of search, this genealogy search on the island, is very, very difficult. People are struggling to find their ancestors on the island. They're struggling to find the things. So in my case, we are already looking at something that is difficult, because Puerto Rico is difficult. And then we're also looking at the fact that I was adopted, so my records, my personal original birth certificate and everything are sealed anyway. And then also looking at the requirement for a change in birth certificates. So I did my brows and my eyelining and my lashes all off camera as usual. My left eye is being a bitch. Just is its thing. Just is its thing. Anyway, as I think I was saying, Puerto Rico's a mess. There are lots of reasons for that, as far as I can tell. Some of that has to do with corruption in the Puerto Rican government. It is apparently quite extensive. They've actually gone through 3 governors the last couple of years. Some of that has a lot to do with how the states treats Puerto Rico as a territory. It doesn't get the proper attention it deserves for some of the things it needs. It gets plenty of attention by colonizers wanting to take the land, or they apparently have some sort of, I don't know, commission that is supposed to make sure that they pay back their monies that they owe to the government, which is kind of weird. They're your territory, but they owe you money. And you can't write it off for some reason. Instead, you have to put the people into austerity measures, and we all know that austerity measures don't really work for anybody, except the companies that are trying to get their money. And even then it doesn't work, because if you've got austerity, people can't pay for things anyway. Just taking out that bronzer a little bit. And there's a whole lot of reasons for it. I think there's just issues that make it so that getting records from there is very, very difficult. On the one hand, I'm glad it's not just me. On the other hand, I'm sad that it is so difficult to do this. I would love to reconnect with my family down there, and I don't have the money for a visit. I don't have the money to unseal my records. I don't have, I just have to do what I can online. I am trying. I have, like I said, I think I said earlier, I've contacted a few people in the family tree. One person has given me a resource to use, a couple of resources. Somebody else gave me another resource to use. And then a third person told me that how difficult Puerto Rico is, and gave me a link on researching Puerto Rican heritage. That is much more peachy than I thought about. We'll go with it. We're just going to go with it. I'm just trying to get this all done. Actually, at this point, I don't think it's going to be horrible having a peachy highlighter. And it's a beautiful one from Nomad. And I can make that much brighter if I wanted to, but I don't want to. Just doing our thing here. But go away. At any rate, so right now it is very, very challenging, and it has been very, very frustrating to do this. And So I am trying to, well, I will say, part of the reason I've been getting so frustrated with the whole thing is that I have been trying to do everything like every few days or every couple days I go in and look at something, and that is really frustrating. So I've decided I'm going to be limiting it to once a week, maybe. Yes, this is what the hair comes out of the thing looks like. We are completely dry today too, which is nice. Don't have to fight her. So I think I'm just going to do it once or twice a week. When my husband's home, I kind of stay out of the way, so to speak, give him run of the house, let him enjoy the TV. I go in the back room and I do a few things of my own. And don't take that as we don't care about each other. We love each other dearly. We just have very different interests. So he works very hard, and I go ahead and just let him have the TV in the front room because it is big. And I go in the back and I do things in the back. And I have a small TV back there. We have a small TV in our bedroom. Not a favorite thing. But, I mean, it's been useful. So I guess that, that works, right? And, yeah, so I really am trying to, all the work that goes into the hair. Now y'all know. Now you've all seen it. Oh no, all my secrets. Not all my secrets. A lot of my secrets. I look bruised. This much purple is a bad idea, I think. But anyway. So I will probably use that time and start trying to be more methodical about it. I know I can be. I was a very good student, and I was the student that when I had research papers in college, they'd say 9 to 12 pages, and I'd say, can we go over? Because I was the one who could take a 12-page report or research paper and turn it into 24 quite easily. Very easily. I was very good at research, and I'm sure I haven't done that in a long time, but I'm sure I still got some of that in there. So I just have to figure all the pieces out and go to all the places and look at all the things. I guess you could say, and just try to do things methodically. It's really hard in Ancestry in some ways because, like, I don't know much about my family. Like I said, my family hasn't talked to me much. My mother apparently didn't tell me a whole lot of truth, and I'm not really in contact with my family on her side much. When she started having issues, we pretty much got, I want to say, shoved to the side a little bit. I basically was left to deal with what was going on with her on my own. I'm backing you all up. So you can see all the big floof. All the big floof. So my family on her side pretty much left me to figure it all out on my own. And I was 16, 17, 18, I think up until I was in my early 20s, dealing with a lot of people telling me that I should take care of my mother, my adult mother, whom didn't want to be taken care of, whose paranoid schizophrenia was completely off the hook by that time. Which explains her reticence to trust people enough to tell me all the things, I suppose. Lots to go into there that I don't really want to, but that did have a very profound effect. And so yeah, there's a lot. There's just a lot there. And I was left on my own to deal with all that, so I haven't had much contact with that part of my family. Just, you know, leaving a kid to deal with all that shit on her own is just not, I don't know. Okay. And after the divorce, my stepfather and his family pretty much wrote me off. So, yeah. And no longer being on the island means that I didn't have contact with any of my biological family on my father's side since she left. So I haven't talked to any of them. I don't know who any of them are. I don't know if this wife we found is actually, if he's actually this person and this wife was his wife, for my father's wife, second wife. So I don't know, guys. The whole thing is relatively upsetting in a lot of ways. I mean, I feel like I got really pretty much left to do it all on my own and to figure it all out. And, okay then. It's hard not to feel, that should be a little deeper, don't you think? It's a little too purple. It's hard not to feel unwanted, I should say. Yes, we're dropping things. Trying to do all the things and we're dropping things. Okay, I like that better. That's closer to what my shirt looks like anyway. I'm always Frankenstein. If you ever look in my description box and go down to the lips, you'll find I'm always Frankensteining. Anyway, so for me, the whole thing has been just a bit of, it's been a trial. It's exciting in some ways, but it's also very distressing to, yeah, it's also very distressing. Anyway, I have no tea, so give me just a minute or two. Actually, for you to be a second. And we will show off the look again and do all the things. So, I'll be right back. Okay, so we just went and did all the things so we could have our intro. As anybody who's watched these videos long enough knows, my intro gets filmed after I do the look. I was not expecting my look to take so long or my discussion to take so long. Again, here is the look. I have had to repair the inner corners, obviously a little bit. Just my eyes. But I will say that the Baybella Cosmetics little pot, this is their little glitter pots. Anyway, these little pot shadows that they have are actually stand up fairly well. Not fantastic, but fairly well. So I'm pretty pleased with them. They do apply better with, say, a sponge tip applicator like this, or with your fingers. But beyond that, they're pretty decent. I really like them. But to get back to what I was saying, Puerto Rico, I believe I was saying, is a mess. So there is a lot that I'm going to have to work through. I think I can do it. I'm not 100% positive I can do it. There's a few more obstacles in the way than if I was doing a standard research paper, because I can't apparently it's really difficult to find stuff on the net about things. And like I said, I don't even have a birth certificate. I can't find a birth certificate for my dad. My records are all sealed. I can't even find a birth certificate for his supposed second wife. He was definitely my dad, or someone by that name was my dad. Someone managed to find military record of him. There is apparently a record of his death from the military, and there's apparently a gravestone somewhere. This is all I got to work with, and because of the things in Puerto Rico, and I wouldn't be surprised if the hurricanes also contributed to the mess that's making this difficult, and also the way the birth certificates are done. My father is listed as Arnaldo Caballero Estrada. Estrada would have been his mother's name, because my name has my mother's last name on it, and I was never called by my mother's last name. I've always, before the adoption, I was always Caballero. After the adoption, I was Evans, but on the birth certificate, it says Caballero Birch, which is my mother's maiden name. So there are little things that are making it a bit more difficult, and I'm not used to doing this kind of research anymore, any kind of research anymore. I didn't have his birth date, so I have a birth date now. I don't know. I don't know. I really wish my mother had kept more information and gotten me that information. I really wish she'd kept something other than just the hospital birth certificate, or she had something or at least she had the honesty to let me know exactly what was going on for real, not something that was either in her head or something she made up to quote unquote protect me or whatever. I mean, just having my half brother come out of the blue was very, very shocking. Telling you guys, these nighttime filmings get complicated. They really do. My son is having an evening, so anyway, we're going to get back into what we were talking about, which is genetics. Me trying to find my genetics, whatever. So yeah, I think this is going to be a bit more difficult, but I'm hoping if I approach it as a research paper and also limit the amount of time, the number of days, I guess, that I work on it, it's going to be a little less frustrating. If you all are interested, let me know down below. I can update occasionally on what's going on, or what I found, if anything. At this point, I'm not expecting much. Just everything on my mother's side is fantastic. Honestly, lots of hints, lots of stuff coming up. My biggest problem is that there is so much of it. I don't know what in there is true, and yeah, it is overwhelming on her side. There's just so much, and I know a lot of it probably doesn't even apply, but figuring out what does is difficult when you have a family that hasn't told you their history. And so that's where I'm at right now. I'm trying to sift through things, and I just get overwhelmed by the number of records, and I just really need to figure out a way to look at those records very cautiously and carefully and go, that's a maybe, that's a definite no, this is that kind of thing, this is a yes, this is probably a yes, and just see where the things take me. On my father's side, it's just going to be a matter of using the 3 resources I was given, plus hopefully I can get work through some of the GED match. They have emails for people that are genetically related to you, and hopefully I can contact some of them. The biggest problem there is on GEDmatch, it doesn't show you the ethnicity of the person, and at least on Ancestry I can see the ethnicity and go, you've got Puerto Rican in you, you've got Taino in you, so you're probably a better bet for me to contact to get information about my Puerto Rican family than just going by the name, say Lopez, in GEDmatch, and going, hey, apparently you and I are genetically related, and I am trying to find information, and I don't know any other way to approach, is just to try to figure out how to use what I learned in college when I did my research papers, which were almost all A's, by the way. I had one that got discounted because of something, some way I formatted something. And yes, in college there were teachers that do that thing. But hopefully if I use that similar approach, I can start getting somewhere. We'll have to see, because from at this point it looks like most of the matches that they have for me are, I think there's one second cousin and he's the one that never responded. The rest are like third and beyond, and I don't even know. I don't even know. I really don't even know. Anyway, it is a whole different thing. I am still exploring the spirituality. I'd love to bring that up as soon as I figure even that out. If you guys are interested in any part of this journey, you know, the whole cultural, spiritual, genetic thing, just let me know. And the next time I have more information, or I've formed a more solid idea of how I'm transitioning from my Christianity to my indigenous bloodline background, when I have more information about all that, I will happily share it. I'm not expecting it to be easy. I really am not. It's just, I was hoping it would be easier than it has turned out to be. It has turned out to be very, very difficult. Just all I can say is, at least I'm not alone trying to do it. Oh, it's terrible to think that way, but it's true. At least it's not just me. So, but you know, I got the unique challenges that anyway, we need to move on. This is already a very long video. I apologize for that too. At any rate, so that is it for the day, and I hope you like what you've seen. And if you do like what you've seen, I hope you will subscribe if you have not done so yet. When you subscribe, please hit that notification bell so you know when I upload. I currently upload 2 days a week, and that would be Monday and Thursday. However, we do have bonus videos. My son opens his Geek Fuel once a month. He might get 2 for the month of August, but he opens that once a month. We also have my garden videos, which will be going through till probably mid-October, maybe late October. Late October, I don't see us going past that much. November, even down here in the south, November starts to chill out a bit. So by that time, at the very least, the peppers will be stopping, even if the tomatoes continue. Unless we get a really long, I hate to call it this, but it's the only way I know how to call it, Indian summer. Everything heats back up and you've got another month or so of warmth. Unless that happens, I don't see even the tomatoes going past November, really, or going into November, but it's possible. So, but those are the garden videos, and if you send anything, you don't have to, but if you do send anything, that would be opened up as a bonus video as well, unless you don't want me to. If you don't want me to, please let me know, either in a note in your box, or you can join the Domytriesthis Facebook group, which is listed down below. And you can let me know on there that a package is on its way and that you do not want me to open it on the channel. I will honor your request. I swear I will. We've got a few moths in the house, and Yuriko wants to get them. If you're a part of my notification squad, please check both your... Hello? Hi. She's going to look up at the ceiling. If you're part of my notification squad, please check both your bell and your subscription to make sure they're both still active. And if you choose not to subscribe, we would hope that you will at least do the YouTube-y things and go ahead and like this video. And you are always welcome back again. They're way over your head. We don't get much Yuriko usually. She's gotten so big. She's almost 2. She's 18 months. 18 months and you've gotten to be so big. I remember when you were just a little handhold. At any rate. Okay, go. You are, like I said, you are always welcome back here again. And when you do come back again, don't forget to bring your cup of tea. All right, so this actually did sit here for a bit longer than I expected. We've had quite a few things going on. Like I said, nighttime filming. So let's give her a sip and we will be on our way. I love the smell of this. I think that is very helpful. But I have loved, like, some of the blueberry teas I've had and some of the other teas I've had. I love the smell of those, and they still ended up not being my thing. I'm kind of hoping that this one will still be my thing. It smells astounding. The spice is kicking in. That's good. That is actually really good. That is repurchase worthy. I'm going to have to look this one up. Of course, it'll be listed down below for you guys too. I'm going to have to look her up and see where it's available from, because that's really good. Really good. It might be actually from SipSpy, because SipSpy apparently has quite a few brands that it does itself. So anyway, that's it. Hope you have a good one.